Alright, so now he's got a crooked smile. So we're going to pinch it on this side. And you always want to support inside and outside when you're doing this. And I like it when it's a little off-center and it's not a perfect face. Like maybe make it a little bigger on one side than the other. Okay, so now I'm going to do the eyes next. So I'm going to kind of tap him. He's kind of rolly, right? And I don't want him rolling. I want him to sit upright. So I'm going to tap him on the table like that. But then his mouth got really small. So I'm going to raise it up again. And now it's going to stay. Alright, so now you could, add a hat to it. You could add anything you want. But I'm just going to do it very similar to this guy. And I'm putting my finger on the inside, and I'm going to use my thumb and push to make an eye socket. Okay, make sure you're wetting your fingers. But I'm supporting it on the inside so I don't go all the way through. You can dig a little bit with your nail. Again, wetting my thumb. Every time I get some cracks, you need to get a little bit of water on there. Smooth it out as you go. Alright, so right here, I'd like to give him, I'll give him a nose. And on this guy, I just put the nostrils right in what would be the lips. But I think on him, maybe I'll add a little piece and give him a nose, just to make him different from the other guy. So I'm going to use my brush and I'm going to make some holes. So this is creating kind of a nose looking thing. Again, it's cracking. Alright. And carve this down a little bit. Took a little bit too much away. So if that happens, just add a piece by dipping the little piece in the water and smoothing it out. And that way you don't have to score that piece, you just have it very wet. Okay, so I'm going to put his nose on here. To put his nose on, I can, again, need to score. So I'm going to score it 2 directions. And support underneath. Push down and wiggle it until it stops moving. Okay. He's kind of looking like a turtle now. Then I'm going to attach the nose by pressing the clay and spreading it. So I'm going to spread it, and I'm getting rid of the edge. So I'm pushing and spreading the clay onto the face. So I'm pulling from higher up and spreading it so that I get rid of that whole crease. Okay. And then use the other end of my paintbrush and smooth it out. Keep those little holes there. Make them a little bigger. Okay, and then you can shape this any way you want. Maybe make it flat on the front. I think I'm going to make it flat on the top too. Alright. And if I want him to be really angry, I could make his nostrils even bigger. Like they're flaring out because he's mad. And then I'm going to give him a little bit of a separation. Sometimes noses, you know, they have, on animals, they have this little line that goes through the middle. So we'll give him that. But he's not a real animal. He's some kind of creature. Okay, so now I want to put the eyes in. So I'm going to use whatever little pieces I have left over. And I'm going to put them together, dip them in water, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze between your thumb and finger like that. Squeeze it really tight, and then roll it in your hand. So I'm putting it in the center part of my hand and using my fingers to roll it. And I'm pressing down. And as it starts to dry a little bit, it gets easier to roll. Okay, so that's going to go there. I need another one. Try to make it about the same size. Sometimes I like to make the eyes different. Maybe I'll make this guy have a bigger eye on this side instead. Okay, I'm going to put it in the water. And if it gets too wet, use a paper towel and dry it off a little bit. Alright, so now I have two eyes. One's a little different than the other. And I need to score inside the eyes and on the ball. So I don't have, my fork's not going to fit in there. So I'm going to use a pointy tool. You can use a pin or a push pin or something like that. Or the end of a paper clip. Or you might have a little scoring tool on your tray. Alright, so now I've scored that. And I'm going to score the eyeball itself. And I'm going to dip it in the water so it's nice and wet. And then I'm going to put it right on top, score to score. Alright. Score to score. And then I'm going to push it in place. Alright, and then the next thing I'm going to do is make a hole right here. And you should have a pencil on your tray. I'm going to grab a pencil here. And push a hole right in the middle. And that will also help to attach it. You can go all the way through, it doesn't matter. Or just go part way through. And now my pencil's stuck, so twist it to pull it out. You don't want to pull it out, you pull the whole eye out. So I don't want my eye to come popping out. Okay, make sure he's really attached. And then, should I give him a mole? You think he needs a mole or something on here? Let's use this little piece of clay. And again, you have to score. So if you're going to attach something, you always want to score it. Okay. So now he's got a little mole here. And I'm going to pull the clay over the edge. Just going to use my paintbrush for this one. Make sure it's not moving anymore. Okay, so then teeth. Some people like to put teeth on like that. So I'm going to take a little piece of clay. And I think I will cut it in a wedge kind of shape. So I've got, it's all, you know, one thickness right now. So I'm going to make it more like a triangle. Like that. And then I'm going to roll it between my fingers. Like that. Get it a little bit wet. And you'll see that the top is pointy too, but this is where the bottom of the tooth is going to be. So I want to flatten this off like that. And then inside here, where I'm going to attach it, I'm going to score. So I've scored it. I'm going to score the end of this one. It's really tiny. Get some water on there. Kind of push down. Put a little bit of water on this. And push it in. So I'm pushing it in until and twisting it a little bit till it attaches. And once it's attached, I still need to smooth it out. So I'm using my pencil because it's nice and small to get in there. Just wet it a little bit. And I want to go all the way around so that my tooth doesn't fall off. And don't worry about making it rough at the top, because you're going to smooth that over with your paintbrush. So we're going to smooth that with the paintbrush, and now it's hopefully going to stay attached, I think. So we'll give him another tooth on the other side. You can give him teeth on the bottom if you want, but I'm going to give him a tongue. So let's give him one more tooth. So I use the other half of that piece that I broke off. And I like to have one tooth a little bigger than the other. Again, keep wetting it, and you can kind of squeeze it into a point. So you can do it that way. You can also roll it. I'm putting more pressure on the pointy end of the tooth and no pressure on the other side. Then again, I'm going to score this end, make sure it's good and flat. Score it. Score where I want to attach the tooth. Make sure it's wet. Put it on there. Wiggle it until it seems like, and I'm pushing against the top until it seems like it's attached. I'm going to use my pencil with a little water and pull that clay over the edge. And I can't really get behind the tooth, but at least, you know, 3 sides of it at the front. Then use your brush and smooth it out. That will help it to stay attached. Okay, so I'm almost done with this guy. I could do some cool things up here, like I could give him eyelashes or kind of weird looking eyebrows by maybe cutting it a little bit and separating. So he looks like he has some kind of either eyelashes or eyebrows. I don't know what these would be. You decide. And then pinch it a little more. Okay. And then I want to give him a tongue. So I'm going to use this piece that I have here to give him a tongue. And I need to make sort of a slab. And you should have a rolling pin, which is just a round cylinder. And you just roll across. It's hard for me to do this because this is actually a wooden spoon. And I have things in the way. So I'm going to roll it. Until it's flat. Okay. Let's make sure that's on the screen. I think so. Alright, so it's starting to crack a little bit. So I'm going to use my paintbrush and smooth it out. and then use a little bit of pressure with my fingers. And I have this fairly thick still. It's like at least a 1/4 inch thick. I'm going to use this part of my paintbrush as a tool to smooth out the cracks. And it's wet. So it's kind of a fine balance between having it wet and having it too wet. Okay, so then I want to cut a little point in the end of my tongue. And if you want, you can trim this up. I like to go from the point down, so I'm turning it over. If I go this way, I might break the whole point off, because it's pushing. This way I'm pushing on it instead of pulling. Okay, so now I'm going to smooth it a little bit and maybe make the points a little longer. And then I'm going to cut this extra bit off that I don't need. And this is kind of thick at this end, so I'm going to trim it down from the back. Okay, and then I'm going to dip it in here and score it in 2 directions, crisscross. And then I'm going to do the same thing inside.